Next on the Delaware Way, he has one of the most famous last names in Delaware, and he has a new idea to fix government. Ben DuPont. This is the Delaware Way. Welcome to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. I am very proud to introduce our next guest. He has a last name that everybody knows in Delaware. Ben DuPont is the son of Pete DuPont, but he's also brilliant in his own right. I heard him speak at the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce, and it was absolutely brilliant. He is an entrepreneur, he's a philanthropist, and he is a businessman and partner at ChartLine. Please welcome Ben DuPont. Thank you very much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I started to talk to you about some issues that I wanted to talk about, and you went right into it and said, I'm going to write this op-ed, and I want to talk about the economy and government. And so, please, the floor is yours.
Well, no, I mean, I just think, we live in a really exciting time, right? We live in a time where we all carry smart, supercomputers in our wallet, to use 1950 speak, that have got GPSs and cameras in them, and there's so much less friction as a result of this between capital and ideas and markets that a lot of exciting things are possible. I mean, great time to be a young kid coming out of school. So, if you think about it, these tools have enabled us to have businesses that are 10 times better than their legacy models. If you think about it, Google is 10 times better than a Google search is 10 times better than doing going to the library for the day. Amazon is 10 times better at, in my case, gave me some of my Saturdays back.
If I could throw one
Please.
in, Wikipedia is more accurate than Britannica was.
There you go. It's a good example. And my kids do book reports on breaching whales. They don't have to read the same Encyclopedia Britannica. There are 1,000 experts they can now have access. It's a really exciting time to be. But lots of these 10x models exist, and it's not just in new economy companies, old economy companies. I mean, nylon was 10 times better than the cotton it displaced. Kevlar, Nomex, Teflon, Dacron, I mean, all developed here in Delaware. All in many applications.
Your family.
All in many, all 10 times better than, in many cases, than their legacy products. So it begs the question, with all this kind of innovation going on in the private sector, where are government's 10x solutions? Where is government 10 times better at delivering a product or service than it was just a few years ago?
Great question.
Where? Now I've had some academic debates with this with some wonderful folks saying maybe that's not government's role. I find that's kind of an interesting line of reasoning. So let me get this right. You want to take a resource out of a company that's trying to, take insight to curing cancer here in Delaware, right? With immunotherapies. To take a resource out of a company that's trying to get a product or service that's 10 times better, and they're paying taxes on top of it and providing jobs, and you move it into the government sector, who's not responsible for innovating, that doesn't make much sense from a society. And
not using a tool that's been proven to work exponentially better than any tool we've ever had.
Right. And so now you get, of course, the government has examples of things that are 10 times better. Our very Constitution is a good example. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion.
Sorry, I keep going back to the speech as home base, but when I was watching you give this speech, you put up the picture of a truck.
Yes.
And you said this is a truck that's driving around Nevada. It's been driving without a driver for a year.
Right.
It goes 24/7.
Exactly.
And it's never had an accident.
Right.
And you might think that's great, but there are hundreds of thousands of truck drivers who do not think that's so great.
And yes.
But let me finish this, because I'm watching television, and they brought up that same example.
Yes.
And somebody said, well, we've got to stop that. Somebody said that with some power among Republicans and conservatives said, we have to stop that because we have to save those jobs.
Right.
That can't be the right approach. But my feeling is that might be pervasive.
I don't think so. If you go back and look at cases where technologies have come along that have displaced, take bank tellers, right? Hard to find a bank teller now. ATMs are everywhere. But actually, if you look at the bank teller employment when ATMs came out, it didn't dive as much as people might think. It was pretty flat. What happened is banks opened more branches, so they got more efficient at the process. So, when autonomous trucks come along, I think clearly we will lose some truck drivers, but we will now be able to drive more trucks at 2 a.m. when the roads aren't being used, and less trucks at rush hour when they are being used.
With fewer accidents, with fewer people falling asleep at the wheel. And I know you came here to talk about the Newcastle, the Newcastle County Country Club. We will talk about that and some other things when the Delaware Way continues with Ben DuPont.